It was still a mystery how in the world the forces managed to get through the impassable whirling tides around the island, and the impenetrable barrier that used to surround Uzushiogakure. It was well known throughout the lands that that barrier was the pinnacle of sealing barriers created by the combined effort of Uzumaki seal masters, and improved by each new generation. Who in the world had skills to get the army through it? The voice of her best friend broke Mikoto out of her musings.
Now that we have decided who is going to be with us, let's move on to changing our plans for the invasion accordingly, Kushina calmly stated.
The invasion? Anko asked in a confused tone. Kushina sighed. This was going to need a lot of explaining. After explaining how they planned to use the invasion of Suna and Oto to their advantage and attack the weakened Konoha to escape, she was met with firm support from both the new arrivals. Mikoto was worried about Sasuke-chan, but Kushina had assured her that he was considered too precious for Konoha to be allowed to die. They will probably give out rank missions during the invasion to protect the last loyal Uchiha. Mikoto doesn't count, nor does the Ambu captain that gave up everything for the sake of his village.
Kasumi and Naruto were a bit peeved at the thought of not being able to teach Sasuke some humility because of Mikoto at first, but the raven-haired women assured them that as long as they didn't cause any permanent damage, she was okay with it.
Naruto planned to revive him after killing him multiple times. It isn't like he's going to die permanently. He didn't need to tell that to Mikoto though. She was still his mother after all. Wait, did that make him Sasuke's dad? Spontaneously, Naruto burst out into uncontrollable laughter, making others look at him oddly. Naruto-kun! Hitomi's soft voice echoed in his head.
Yeah, Q-chan, he answered, still trying to control his laughter.
I wanted to let you know, when you were being intimate with the Uchiha woman, I activated her eyes. Naruto was confused, so he voiced his confusion to his tenant. But, didn't you say that it's too late for women of that age to adjust to the Sharingan? Hitomi mentally shook her head. Not for her. She is an Uchiha, and has been trained how to fight using the Sharingan from the beginning. Not having it made her style incomplete and baseless. She doesn't need to adjust to the Sharingan now. But she needed to adjust to not having the Sharingan almost always she fought before. I see, thank you, Kai. I will let them know. You're welcome, Naruto. Can you please work faster on trying to get me out of here, though? I'm trying, Hitomi-chan. Mikoto-chan. Naruto addressed the woman. Yes, Naruto-kun?
Channel some chakra into your eyes, he instructed.
Curiously, she did as she was told. Almost instantly, her vision became clearer, and her perception improved. She saw everything move slightly slower than usual. She knew all too well what these effects meant. The others too noticed the change in her eyes. The obsidian black had changed to bright red with 3 black tomos in each of them. Sharingan? But how? She whispered in disbelief.
She had always been hindered in her growth due to not having the Sharingan like her other clan members. Having the Dojutsu made the difference between the commoners and the elite within the Uchiha clan. If only she had activated her eyes in the early stages of her life, her training would have been much higher, and she would have received much more help from her clan.
This of course did not mean she was an incapable ninja, due to never activating her Sharingan. To her, it was nothing more than a powerful tool that she didn't get. Having it would have been great, but not having it didn't mean the end of the world for her. She was surely hopeful to activate it someday though, as much as she hated to admit it. The Sharingan did provide an undeniable edge to a ninja. Moreover, her combat style, the interceptor fist, and all her training was based on the usage of Sharingan. Thanks to being trained by the Uchiha clan. Not having it had greatly hindered her growth.
Once she adjusted to the use of her eyes, she might very well have reached the S-rank status.
Kushina had realized all this as soon as the Dojutsu had become visible as well, and the cogs in her head were turning already, adjusting the plans to best suit the new situation. Anko-san, we will be placing memory-blocking seals on you. It has only been a day since you were kidnapped. This might hurt, but I'm fairly certain no one missed you. Anko grumbled.
Your disappearance might have caused some alarm to the Hokage, as he is already getting pretty suspicious of Jiraiya not waking up. We would rather avoid taking any more chances.
Once the invasion starts, we will disarm your memory block seals through a remote chakra wave that the seal is designed to react to. You will not remember anything from the point where you were eating dango with Kurenai. Once you fall unconscious due to the strain put by the seal, we will take you to your apartment and put you in your bed. You will probably think it was a hangover, or you would have been dead or raped. Anko nodded at what she knew to be orders from her superior. She had just narrowly escaped death and stroke, what she considered to be a fairly good deal. She wasn't going to risk it just now. With a nod, Natsumi started designing the seal on a paper, which she will later transfer right on top of Anko's cursed seal, as she didn't want anyone noticing the extra seal on Anko.
The reason Natsumi was the one designing the seal instead of Kushina was simple. She specialized in medical-type seals, while Kushina was an expert in barrier-type seals.
While mental barriers did a decent job in blocking the memories, they more often than not slowed down the brain function. Anko wasn't really what you would call the sharpest kunai in the pouch, so Kushina wasn't willing to risk it. Natsumi, on the other hand, could suppress various memories without isolating them completely from the user. Anko will not remember them till the seal is broken, but they won't be complete gone, thus won't create a solid wall, or void like the barrier seals and want disrupting brain function. The seal was something similar to what Sasori of the Red Sands used on his spies. F in Hazusu. I seal detach. The seal from the paper was detached as the formation of ink was suspended in air, barely touching Natsumi's hand. Without waiting any further, she pressed the seal into Anko's cursed seal. Gyoku Funshitsu F9. One memory lapse seal. The intricate seals of the paper converged into the cursed seal, leaving no trace of the new seal except for the trained eye of a seal master. Within moments, Anko collapsed, unconscious. Well, now that that's done, let's get to the next topic, Kushina announced. All eyes turned to Makoto, who was still looking at Naruto with a blush. All right, that's it. What happened between the two of you? Kasumi demanded. Well, Makoto stuttered as she tried to come up with an answer, all the while her blush getting darker. Oh, I see. So does that make Naruto-kun Sasuke's dad? And me his mom? You know, in a more indirect way, Kasumi asked with barely restrained glee on her face. Oh, she could not wait till she got the chance to throw this in Sasuke's face. Take that, you MO prick. I'm not your bitch, I'm your mom. Well, kind of. No one spoke a word.
I expect to be properly introduced to my son, Naruto seriously demanded.
All color drained from her face as she thought about it. And no way. I think it'd be best if Sasuke never comes to know of this. If that's what you wish, he's still your son. They then proceeded to adjust their plans to include Makoto in them, which didn't really need all that adjustment. It was decided that Makoto will stay in Konoha with Kushina till the siblings return. Then they will strike together and cause maximum damage before escaping. Now that Makoto had her Sharingan, she was much more dangerous than before. It will surely weaken their spy activity in Konoha if they took Makoto with them, but addition of a higher-ranked ninja more than made up for it. Chapter end. Trouble is brewing. Hokage office, Konoha. Sarutobi, Hiruzen was not a happy man. While shameful for him to realize, it was an undeniable fact that all tea. He really didn't know why he couldn't have had one decent student. Jiraiya was, quite simply, an idiot. Sarutobi didn't blame him for being perverted, as he himself was admittedly a closet pervert, so he really couldn't blame his student there. What he did know, though, was that Jiraiya didn't realize when he should put his vices aside and act responsible. There is a time and place for everything. And then there was also the problem of him being too idealistic. Ever since the retarded old toad sage on Mount Myobokuzen had fed the boy his bullshit about the prophecy child being trained by him, the pervert had been constantly roaming the lands to find someone like that, only to get a Rinnegan wielder killed, or he was just making that story up, and his second student Minato was already dead. The Rinnegan would have surely been a valuable asset to Konoha. Why couldn't he bring those 3 children here? They'd have been safer in the village and would have helped boost our reputation and defenses. But because of his foolishness, we're deprived of such valuable assets for no reason. And even now, he's after that prophecy. Doesn't he realize that Konoha is above stupid prophecies? His loyalty must lie with the village before anything else. Then, there was Senju Tsunade. Words didn't even begin to describe Sarutobi's disappointment in her. Abandoning Konoha so that she can mourn the loss of 2 people by gambling and drinking. Well, sue me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that seem like celebrating? Besides, doesn't she see that Konoha matters more than her stupid dead family? If Tsunade was in Minato's place, would she have allowed Kibai to be sealed in Nawaki? I know the answer would be no. Stupid woman. Chiach, such a disappointment. She doesn't have what it takes to be a Hokage. I can't believe she's related to Hashirama and Tobirama-sensei.
The only student he was even remotely proud of was Orochimaru, but that pride was crushed too when the snake Sannin had betrayed Konoha. Betraying Konoha was like stabbing a spiked pole up Sarutobi's stinky old wrinkly ass. He did not like it.
What irked him most was the fact that all 3 of them were giving him constant grief. Jiraiya had some apparently important information, but he had no way of acquiring it right now. Curse him! Why did he have to go peeking right before delivering the information? And did that bitch have to beat him into a coma? Then Tsunade refused his order to return to the village before the Chunin exams. It was times like this that his kind old man image worked against him. She probably thinks the spineless old idiot probably won't do anything if I don't return. The deluded bitch needs to be reminded who her sensei is. Perhaps an interrogation session with Ibiki will take care of that. Of course, he won't order it directly. The council will be doing it behind his back, and when he finds out he will be furious, but there won't be anything he could do about it. He giggled. Arranging Anbu teams to retrieve her without her consent was giving him another headache, though. Regardless, she will be here soon. Expect her surprise when she encounters a wood user in the Anbu team. If nothing else, the hope of having a living relative will draw her in. Orochimaru's lab rat was such a nifty little thing sometimes, and skilled too. He would have given his snaky student a pat on the back if he weren't a traitor. His mood deflated, though. Bad things were happening, and he would be more assured if one of his students was here. For all her vices, Tsunade was still stronger than any jonin he had. And a major political figure, too, thanks to being Shodame's granddaughter. Having her here would definitely help him greatly. Of course, Sarutobi could beat her with his wrinkly old toe. So could Orochimaru, or Jiraiya, or any other respectable cage-level ninja. For all her boasting about being one of the strongest kunoichi alive, she was rather weak. Kushina wouldn't even need to try to win against her. All Tsunade had was some medic jutsu, and that freakish strength, which was easily avoidable thanks to her sloppy moves. Sarutobi was disappointed.
As if all this wasn't enough, his 3rd student was indirectly creating problems as well. He idly wondered where Orochimaru was or what he was doing, but put that aside to think about later.
Orochimaru's apprentice had gone missing for a day, and then came back. That wouldn't have been so bad if he hadn't put those tracking seals on her, which had suspiciously stopped working during her disappearance. According to Anko, she was just asleep from a hangover. But I know better. If that didn't scream spy, he didn't know what would. Currently, he had an ambush squad watch over her, as he did not like traitors. So, he had instructed Yugao and her squad to take care of her if she seemed even a little suspicious. Putting aside his 3 students, there were still many things that worried him. For example, the problem with the Genin teams not having any D-rank missions to perform, thanks to the Uzumaki. Speaking of the devil, suddenly there was a knock at his door. Sarutobi sighed as he grunted the permission to enter. He almost relaxed as he saw Kakashi Hatake and his Genin team appear, but then he cringed as he thought he would have to tell them about the lack of missions. Again, the conversation with teammate had already given him a headache. Not wanting to face it again, he quickly devised his strategy. Kakashi bowed. Team 7, reporting for mission assignment. Hokage-sama? Sarutobi chuckled. Ah, if it isn't my favorite team. I hope everything is well. Sasuke-kun, Ame-chan.
Sakura deflated as the Hokage was apparently not concerned about her well-being.
You too, Sakura-chan, Sarutobi added as an afterthought. The civilian council member's daughter didn't really matter all that much to him. No skills, and only known loyalty towards her crush, Uchiha Sasuke. And then Sakura swooned at the epic coolness of her crush, forgetting about everything else. Ami, on the other hand, was nervous. She was now basically a spy in Konoha for Kasumi and her family, and she knew she would be executed if caught. But honestly, after what they had gone through, Ami didn't blame them for hoping to leave the village. She hoped they succeeded, and maybe one day she could join them. Her disgust for the village had grown ever since she realized what they were really like. But still, she didn't want to actively go against Konoha without provocation. After all, she had her parents here, and Iruka-sensei, and that was pretty much it. Sure, her parents never really cared for her. She didn't know why, but she had long since come to the conclusion that she was not their real child. Her mother and father both had brown hair while hers was black as the midnight. It just didn't work like that. She just wondered sometimes what happened to her real parents. But she didn't dare ask anyone. The Hokage knew, and from what she could tell, he didn't want her to know. Her respect for the man had crashed ever since Kasumi exposed his true nature anyway. That man, didn't he see that a brick wall wasn't Konoha, but it was the people within, and they were rotting and disgusting. His ignorant leadership had let them become too arrogant and self-righteous. And by now, they were too far gone to be saved or changed. She just hoped she could get away from this filth before she becomes like them. She shuddered at the thought. God, she hoped Kasumi or her siblings kill her before that happens. Breaking from her thoughts, she realized that the Hokage was still expecting an answer from her. I'm fine. Hokage-sama, thank you for your concern, she replied politely.
Hokage's eyes shined in amusement. The girl had no idea who she was, or from where. She honestly believed herself to be the daughter of 2 civilians from Konoha, but then again, she had no reason to doubt it, did she? She would have died if it wasn't for him anyway.
That's good to hear, my dear. Now since you are all such capable individuals. He gave them an approving nod. Sasuke puffed out his chest as he heard this. See, even the Hokage admitted he was elite. Sakura's eyes changed into hearts as she looked at her Sasuke-sama, Lord of the Universe, while Ami rolled her eyes. Sure, Sasuke had a nice face and was famous, but he was an asshole with a duck-ass hairstyle and infinite arrogance, so she had no interest in him. Plus, Kasumi's brother was better in both looks and attitude, from what the redhead told her anyway. I am assigning you to take a C-ranked mission. As soon as those words had left the Sandame's mouth, Kakashi dropped his porn. Ami's eyes widened, and Sasuke smirked. Sakura? Well, she looked scared. Maybe. If she had an idiot for a teammate that she can bully to make herself feel stronger than she actually was, she wouldn't have been so scared. But as it was right now, she knew she was really, really weak. The weakest of her class maybe, if the book smarts were to be ignored. And she wasn't really all that smart either. She just had nothing to do in her life except swooning over Sasuke, belittling others, and memorizing books. If a stone block had spent that much time with the books, it would have probably aced the academy as well. Her academy teachers often told her she had great chakra control, but that was to be expected thanks to her pathetically small reserves. Kakashi picked up his porn again and resumed reading with a shrug. Oh well, I guess I will have to actually start teaching them then. Nah, too much work. Not like they will die as long as I'm with them. Then the Hokage signaled his secretary to send the client in. A drunken-looking old man with gray hair and a beard entered the room, drawing attention of the Genin team towards him. The Hokage smiled. Team 7, your mission is to guard Tazuna-san here from any dangers until his bridge in Nami no Kuni is completed. Kakashi gave the client a once-over, noticing the slight hint of fear in his eyes, but not really paying it much thought. He nodded as he accepted the mission. Tazuna looked the kid stunned before turning around to face the Hokage. You can't be serious. You are sending kids to protect me. They will probably die, Tazuna yelled with disbelief. He was afraid that whoever Gato will send after him will surely get through these kids, and that will be the end of him. The Hokage laughed good-naturedly at the client. Most people who were afraid of bandits and the like killing them had similar responses on getting a Genin team as bodyguards, but it was only normal for them to be scared.
After some grumbling and convincing Tazuna that Kakashi was an elite ninja, they departed to Nami no Kuni. Poor Tazuna reluctantly agreed, hoping against hope that they all survive while Team 7 was blissfully unaware of the trouble they just walked in.
Tazuna was nervous. When he had applied for ninja protection from the Leaf Village, he had been expecting a squad of fully grown ninjas for his 50,000 ryo.
But apparently, hiring ninja was quite expensive, and his payment only qualified for a C-rank mission, which was given to these kids.
He was hoping for the super ninja guardians he got to take pity on him, and just ignore his little lie about there being only bandits, and such after him, not a business tycoon. But now he felt pity for endangering the life of such young children. As the group kept walking in silence, except Sakura, who was fawning over her Sasuke-kun, no one except Kakashi noticed the misplaced puddle on the road. Just as they had crossed it, two shadowy figures burst out from the puddle and sounds of sharp rattling chains filled the air.
Kakashi was shredded before he even had the chance to blink, much to the horror of everyone else. Except Sasuke, he didn't really care. As one of the elite Uchiha, he was sure he will get a better sensei as a replacement. Deciding to collect all the glory to himself and test his strength, Sasuke charged headfirst towards the two Chunin-level opponents, expecting to defy all logic and win.
Of course, the exact opposite happened. Before Sasuke even had time to realize what had gone wrong, he was wrapped up in chains that deeply sunk into his elite flesh and pierced his elite skin.
A girly scream was released from his throat as he received his first combat injury. Sure, he had faced Tsukuyomi before, but he had just watched his clan being slaughtered, and the pain, while great, was purely emotional. Amy cursed at her teammates' stupidity, but she wasn't going to risk her life and mission to save that arrogant asshole. And even if she did charge ahead, she was a freshly graduated genin. There was no way she could win against two Chunin-level opponents, as they had already demonstrated from their speed.
That was when her eyes fell upon the broken pieces of a log where Kakashi's body was supposed to be. So much for those who abandon their team are worse than trash. Fucking hypocrite. Kakashi's lone eye widened as he finally realized Sasuke might die. He cursed himself. He won't be able to get him out of there in time. Sakura. Well, she did the only thing she was good at. She screeched, "Sasuke-kun!"
The demon brothers screamed as their ears bled, and their hold on the chain slackened.
Kakashi, by now used to Sakura's screeching, and half-deaf, used the moment to his advantage and freed Sasuke from the demon brothers' hold. "That's quite enough," he declared, sure that his mere presence was enough to subdue the two Chinin.
The demon brothers were not to be deterred though. They threw their spiked chain towards Sasuke. Gozu then ran towards Amy while Maizu charged at Sakura, intent on taking at least one of them out before the Jonin could interfere.
Kakashi was taken by surprise as he expected them to either retreat and give him the advantage or attack him foolishly, but immediately rushed towards Sakura. Knowing how completely useless she was, she won't be able to hold her own against one of them even for a moment.
Poor Maizu never stood a chance against the elite Jonin, and his back was pierced before he even knew it. Sakura fainted as blood was splattered on her face.
Gozu screamed in anguish at seeing his younger brother die at the hands of Konoha scum. His accuracy fell, and Ami was able to parry his wild swipes.
Kakashi intervened before it was too late, and after a brief skirmish with the Chunin, he was able to decapitate the black-clad figure, never noticing the extremely fine scratch he received on his hand from his opponent's poisoned claw. It wasn't enough to draw blood, but a very tiny amount of poison flowed in him now.
Tazuna stood paralyzed in fear as Kakashi growled. "Is there something you forgot to tell us, Tazuna-san?"
Normally Kakashi was a very laid-back assassin, but since one of his students, Uchiha Sasuke, had been injured, he was on the end of his patience. It didn't help that he felt he owed it to Obito to help his clan's last survivor. Tazuna gulped as he started babbling everything he knew.
Despite knowing better, they had continued with the mission. Kakashi just knew this was a big mistake. Sasuke was too arrogant to realize how close a brush with death he just had. He was lucky that the chains weren't coated with poison, and Kakashi knew a minor medical jutsu to heal his wounds. Not completely, but enough to stop the major wounds from bleeding. Sakura would always follow her one true love, so there was no use even asking her. Ami held some sympathy for Tazuna and his family for going through all they had. His sob story had touched her somehow, so she reluctantly agreed with her teammates. Kakashi, though alarmed with how close his student had come to death, knew it was only because he had been a tad careless. There weren't many ninja out there who could best the copy Ninja Kakashi, and once they got to the Wave Country he could properly tend to Sasuke's wounds. The only ones capable of fighting on his level were the Cages, S-rank nin, the 7 swordsmen, Anbu captains, and the best jonin of each major village. There was no way Gato was able to hire one of those to kill a bridge builder. The assassination mission of a commoner classified as B rank, which meant Shanin-level teams would be dispatched for it. Hopefully, Gato will never realize just how powerful Hatake Kakashi was, and thus waste his resources.
Then as soon as their mission was over, he and his team would be back in Konoha. Oh, that sounded so nice right now.
He was feeling slightly dizzy. After taking a boat, Team 7 and Tazuna were very close to approaching Nami no Kuni. That's when everything went wrong. Get down! If they had lagged even a moment, the giant sword that came flying would have sliced right through them. The sword lodged itself into a tree right behind them, and a man who wore bandages and had a slashed mist hitayate landed on the sword's hilt. Zabuza grunted as he recognized his opponent. Copy Ninja Hatakakashi. No wonder the demon brothers lost. Kakashi immediately stiffened. He just had to think nothing could go wrong. Damn it. Zabuza's eyes swept through their group. There was his target, a pretty raven-haired girl, a not-so-pretty pink-haired girl, an arrogant-looking duck-ass boy, and a strong cyclopean opponent. Who should I go for first? Now, Zabuza had a very naughty habit. A habit that had nearly gotten his balls melted in lava, literally, when he was a shinobi of Kiri. He liked to taunt pretty girls and scare them by making them think he was going to brutally rape them. Of course, he never actually did it, but their expressions were hilarious. Yep, his left testicle still suffered from trauma after being nearly introduced to Mai's lava globs. He shuddered. That bitch was only 13 at the time, and had him screaming like a little girl. He was glad he became a missing nin. But still, he didn't want his right testicle, the only one that worked like it should, to be frozen by his apprentice. So he somehow refrained from making stupid, crude jokes. Thus, Team 7 got no warning except his moving hands and murmuring. He raised his right hand high in the air and formed a hand seal with the left. Kirigakura no Jutsu.
Kakashi cursed again as he raised his headband to reveal his Sharingan.
I can't see anything, Sakura fearfully murmured. That's what the technique was for you, idiot, Ami hissed. Before Sakura could yell back, Zabuza's killing intent flooded the area, thick as the mist they were in. Sasuke was shaking like a leaf from the intense feeling of dread that overwhelmed him. His blood loss from the previous skirmish was taking its toll. Ami's eyes darted from side to side in alarm as her heart pounded in her chest. Sakura just stood there, too scared to do anything. Zabuza discreetly created 2 water clones and sent one in the center of the genin formation. Hello, kiddies. The genin's blood ran cold as they felt the presence behind them. But before he could chop them all off, Kakashi's water clone appeared in front of him and dispatched him, who was in turn sliced in half by Zabuza's second water clone from behind, making it dissolve into a puddle of water. Believing the one who killed his water clone to be the real Zabuza, Kakashi held his kunai over the clone's neck. By the time he realized his mistake, it was too late. Shh! Kakashi wheezed as a powerful kick sent him flying. In blind panic, it was only luck through which he was able to parry Zabuza's sword with his kunai. But the force was enough to send him staggering back a few feet.
Before the Jonin could regain his bearings, Zabuza was already in the middle of hand seals. Kakashi's eyes widened as he realized the seals Zabuza was going through.
He appeared in front his scared team with a Shushin no Jutsu, intent on protecting them from the attack, and started going through his own hand seals. A giant water dragon shot out from the lake. Suten, Suri, Dan no Jutsu. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. If Kakashi hadn't been slowed down by the poison in his wounds, he would never have let Zabuza finish the 44 hand seals required for the rather powerful jutsu. But as it was now, he had to counter the attack.
The giant dragon roared at the small group, scaring the living hell out of them, and charged towards the team.
Kakashi's mind was in a whirl. The adrenaline rush and increased blood flow had spread the poison in his bloodstream far faster than normal. It was a wonder he was still standing. There was no way any of the genin could counter a jutsu that powerful, nor could they dodge out of the rather wide area of damage it was sure to have. Ami didn't know any impressive ninjutsu, and she sure as hell knew weapons or taijutsu were not going to work on that huge-ass dragon. Sakura, well, she was standing there looking scared. Sasuke finally snapped out of his fear-induced stupor. Katon, Gokoki no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique.
A medium-sized ball of flames shot out from Sasuke's mouth and impacted the water dragon, evaporating a part of it and thickening Zabuza's already thick mist. But that did nothing to hinder its progress, just slightly decreased its size. Nevertheless, it was still powerful enough to snap all of them like twigs.
Even as his body protested, Kakashi looked defiantly into the water dragon's eyes as his hands slammed into the ground, channeling most of his remaining chakra into it. Doten, Doreen Heki, Earth release, Earth-style wall.
Zabuza watched without any hint of surprise as his water dragon impacted the wall that had formed out of the ground in front of the little group. He already knew it won't be easy to take out the copy ninja.
But so far he had been somewhat disappointed. Kakashi's moves were sluggish, the kind which only belonged to rookie jonin, not legendaries like Hata. Oh well, I guess the bingo book exaggerated about his capabilities. Won't be the first time a bingo book entry's been wrong.
Meanwhile, Kakashi used this little time to order his client Chizuna to move away from them so as not to get him caught in crossfire. Now physically and spiritually exhausted from both the poison and his fight, he was close to fainting.
He never sensed the axe kick from Zabuza that sent his face crashing into the ground. Dust flew up from the ground as Kakashi's bloody face impacted it. "Sensei!" Sakura screamed in terror. Sasuke and Amei looked fearful and somber, but prepared to defend themselves. They couldn't believe their Jonin sensei was defeated, and now they had to fight this monster of a man. Alone. Zabuza winced at the pink-haired girl's volume and backhanded her for being an annoyance. Sakura went flying before she fainted as her head hit a tree with a loud wham. The genin and Tazuna winced at the sickening crack. She gave one last blood-curdling screech before succumbing to unconsciousness. Zabuza paid her no mind as he progressed towards the remnants who were still standing. He decided to deal with the one that damaged him most later, personally. She did make him bleed from his ears, something the copy ninja failed at doing. He watched as the two remaining genin prepared to defend from him, and scoffed. "How foolish you think you can escape from me. You are nothing but kids playing ninja. I was the one who fought the Yondaime Mizukage and lived, the person who had full control of his Bijai, something only legends have achieved." He paused. What the hell was he boasting about his great achievements in front of two kids? He shook his head. Sometimes he had to question himself if Sambi's mist illusions had actually affected his sanity. Then he remembered he didn't have sanity, so he was okay. Sutan! Henri! Water release. Tearing torrent. Water flew in from the nearby lake into Zabuza's hand. Before anyone could react, Zabuza swung his arm out towards the group, sending the giant vortex of water crashing into them. With no way to defend themselves from such a powerful ninjutsu, they were painfully thrown back from the great impact of water. Zabuza walked towards the black-haired girl as he was closer to her. Standing upon her menacingly, he chuckled without humor in his voice. "I would say I'm sorry I have to kill you, but I have too much blood on my hands to feel sorry anymore. I'll make sure you are reunited with your team in the afterlife, though." He grinned at the fear evident on her face. He loved making people afraid. Especially pretty girls, their scared faces always turned him on, and sometimes cost him a testicle or two. Bringing up his sword, he made a downward slash at the downed girl. The sound of a sword moving was followed by a scream. Uzumaki Compound Konoha. Kushina Uzumaki was happy. She never had all that many goals in her life. All she ever wanted was to have a loving husband and a happy family, and they all live happily ever after. She would have done anything for that dream. But until Naruto came into her life, it all seemed impossible. Her son, he had brought her all that she ever wanted. Even the daughter she had once lost, his elder sister. And he was a wonderful, wonderful lover. Yes, he is. Sighing happily, she wished he was her first, but that wasn't possible. How sad. Still, this was good enough. The only thing she wanted now was for her family to live together happily from now until forever. She sighed dreamily at the thought. Oh, what she wouldn't do for that to come true. But for them to live happily, they first had to get out of this village, and then collect loads and loads of money and allies. And then they would create a new hidden village for their clan over Uzusha Yogakure's ruins. And then Kasumi, Natsumi, Nina, Hitomi and herself will marry Naruto, and will have lots and lots of kids. Lots and lots and lots of kids, she squealed in delight. Ka-chan, stop daydreaming. Kushina snapped her head towards the voice, angry that someone had dared to interrupt her perfect dream. But her eyes softened as she realized it was just her daughter. Oh, sorry, Mizume. I spaced out for a bit there. She chuckled at her daughter, who shrugged. Ever since Naruto had come back, their days had kept getting better and better, and the nights were even more enjoyable. Kasumi bit her lip as she thought about her time with Naruto. Still, in the back of her mind, she couldn't help but think things won't always be like this. That thought scared her. Kushina adopted a confused expression on her face before her shoulders sagged in defeat. So, what were we talking about before I started fantasizing? Kasumi sighed happily as the thoughts of her brother ravaging her assaulted her mind, spacing out of the conversation temporarily. Natsumi pouted. Am I the only one who doesn't know what exactly you two are talking about? Kushina and Kasumi giggled with a blush on their cheeks. Natsumi had no idea what she was missing. One day you will know exactly what we're talking about. One Ni-chan. Kasumi winked with a smirk on her face. Natsumi blushed as she realized what they were implying. Don't they ever think about anything else? Anyway, Kushina interrupted, getting the sisters' attention. I think I was going to help Naruto and Nina out in the library with organizing all the new techniques that we have saved from Konoha. Seeing their confused looks, she gave them a triumphant grin. Since all the scrolls of the Uchiha clan belong to Itachi, who is next in line of being the clan head, as his mother, Mikoto supposedly has certain freedoms. Besides, she said she will somehow make Itachi join us, so leaving all those scrolls here is a waste, right? All three of them smiled deviously at her. The Uchiha had probably copied a lot of ninjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu, and anything that they could with the help of their eyes. They were right. The Uchiha archives had started from the clan wars and have been constantly updated till the Uchiha massacre. There were thousands of techniques, from E rank to S rank in those scrolls, ranging from one to clean your nose, to one to clean a town. While most of those techniques couldn't be performed by most Uchiha due to not having the required affinity or chakra reserves, they had still copied all they saw for the future generations. Obviously, moving so many scrolls was a pain, and none of them wanted to appear suspicious by being sighted taking scrolls from the Uchiha compound. So Kushina had just given Mikoto a master scroll with a modified reverse summoning seal placed on it. As soon as Mikoto was done sealing the entire Uchiha library into the scroll, she will simply channel some chakra and poof, the scroll will appear back directly in the Uzumaki library, where the destination seal was placed. All that would need to be done after that was to organize those scrolls properly. Sure, they would have to move from here in a few months, but they will have plenty of time to pack everything properly by then, so it wouldn't matter really. Oh, also, I was going to see if I can give Nina a little push in the right direction, if you know what I mean. Kushina giggled perversely. Kasumi grinned at her mother. Sure, Ka-chan. Would you need any help? Kushina's eyes widened before she hastily nodded. Yeah, that's right. But not with Naruto. I can't believe I forgot this. I want you both to go look at the security barrier of this compound and study its structure. Then I want both of you to come up with seals and ideas of your specific sealing specialties and show them to me when you're done. Keep in mind, I want the ideas for 2 versions. A big one for the village of Uzushiogakure, and a smaller one for our compound there. She grimaced. Currently, she was working on creating a barrier far advanced than any she had ever designed before for their village in Uzushiogakure. But she wasn't sure they could do it. The previous barrier was a stuff of legends. Something not even all Bij together could hope to bypass. Yet, it fell. She had to do better than what had been done by hundreds of seal masters from multiple generations. It seemed impossible. The most frightening thought that haunted her, though, was how that barrier had been bypassed was still unknown. How could she prepare for something she didn't even know? Which was why she was taking any help she could get, no matter how insignificant. Tossing a scroll to them, she fixed them with a hard look. In that scroll is my current plan for both type of barriers, as well as some of the secret workings behind Keki F Injutsu. Go through it carefully, and no matter what, don't lose it. Natsumi and Kasumi gave identical nods to their mother as they left to fulfill their tasks. Library. Uzumaki compound. Naruto was entranced. Ever since the Master Scroll had arrived, he had been all giddy as he skidded through techniques. No matter how many he had, Naruto always craved more ninjutsu, especially the ones that caused mass destruction. And there were literally more than 100,000 techniques that he and Nina were sorting through and adding to the Uzumaki archives.
Sure, it was a bit unfair, but except for Makoto, all the other Uchiha were too arrogant to be called friends. Except Itachi maybe. Makoto-chan said he was a cute baby, but Naruto had yet to see. As it was, with Makoto joining the Uzumaki clan, the Uchiha clan was no more.
He didn't tell Makoto, but he knew Sasuke was most definitely not going to be with them. With his current attitude, he would be lucky if Naruto didn't kill him. He grinned as a cruel glint entered his eye. Oh, he would enjoy taking Sasuke down a peg or two whenever possible. I don't care if he is Makoto-san's son. The bastard dared to call my sister his bitch. He chuckled. Getting back to work, he skidded to a halt as his eyes fell upon a particularly interesting little scroll. How to Make Yourself as Awesome at Taijutsu as Me, by Uchiha Izuna.
Right by its side was another scroll that almost made him burst out in laughter. My personal notes on how to kick Madara's ass, and the poll in it by Uchiha Izuna.
He raised a blonde eyebrow. Huh. Who knew Madara's brother was a taijutsu genius? And those notes will definitely help a bit, though they were really outdated right now, so he knew they won't help that much. Madara was by now probably leagues ahead of what he used to be during Izuna's time. Naru-kun, I think you should go through that scroll carefully. Madara and Izuna were equally talented and hailed as prodigies that appear only once every few generations. Hitomi's voice quipped in his head. She always supplied him with interesting things, so he listened. Madara was Hashirama. Senju's equal in every sense of the word, and trust me when I say this, I have seen Hashirama Senju fight through various dead Uchiha's memories before I was sealed. And your biological father had nothing on him. Him being the strongest Hokage is a mere delusion. Sure, he could teleport anywhere his kunai was instantly, but I don't think any of his kunai would have made it near Hashirama with all his trees and vines there to take them away before the Yondaime could even throw them. Through the generations, people have forgotten just how fearsome people like Hashirama and Madara could be at full strength. I dare say Madara can fling you around like a rag doll if he wanted to right now. But hopefully by the time he notices you, you will be strong enough. The only reason Izuna is dead is because he never expected to be attacked by his own brother. I want you to study Izuna's style, but don't completely copy it. Madara will be too familiar with it for it to be effective against someone like him. Combine Izuna's style with Raiken that the Dragon Lady taught you as well as my personal style, and you will have a formidable taijutsu style at your disposal. Hitomi finished with an approving nod at her own plan. Naruto shrugged. Well, his taijutsu did need some work, so why not? Alright, Kai-chan, I'll do as you say. He felt the foxy demoness smile approvingly from his mindscape, in turn causing him to smile. They were slowly growing closer and closer to each other. As time went by, more and more of her soul was being absorbed into his, making him stronger and more demonic, while weakening her at the same time. By all rights, Hitomi should hate him for this, but she in turn only helped and encouraged him. His resolve to find a way to get rid of the seal never wavered, though. Hitomi was as important to him as his mother and sister now. Well, she had been like a mother when he was away from Kushina for about 4 years. Naruto-kun, I think you should take a look at this. Snapping out of his musings, his eyes fell upon Nina, who held a small black scroll in her hand. Walking behind her, he looked over her shoulder to see what she was talking about. His breath got caught in his throat as his eyes widened more and more with each word he read. This is, how in the hell did they, how could they do this? Inside Naruto, Hitomi was equally shocked, unable to believe the Uchiha had those weapons in their possession. She was speechless at how they had acquired them. It was unbelievable what some people wouldn't do for more power. And they call her a monster. Nina bit her lower lip as she nervously looked back at his angry face. His lenses had deactivated due to his aggression, and his Dojutsu was flaring, making him all the more intimidating. She had never come across someone more powerful than her for quite a few years now. Kushina was maybe her equal, and might defeat her with some luck. But right now she felt as if she was truly and completely outclassed. The feeling was the same as when her mother had started training her when she was just 4. Oddly enough, it excited her, but she pushed that thought aside. Though she knew that it was just raw power and potential Naruto outclassed her in, with her experience she was still a better warrior than him. But still, she also knew it won't stay that way for long. Her voice wavered as raw fear ran through her. I don't know, Naruto-kun. Please calm down. Naruto looked at her in anger, causing her to flinch back. Naruto-kun, calm down. She didn't do anything to you. You shouldn't take your anger out on her. Though I never expected the Uchiha to do such a thing. Naruto sighed, knowing she was right. Though, she didn't really have the right to say that, as she did go on a rampage when she got pissed. He gave her an apologetic smile. Sorry for that. I was just too surprised at the revelation. It just came so unexpected that... Never mind. That's no excuse. I shouldn't have snapped at you. He admitted gently as he snaked his arms around Nina's waist. Naruto's yoki flared briefly. No one but Hitomi noticed. Nina grinned as she closed her eyes, feeling oddly comfortable all of a sudden. That's okay. I don't mind. But you are a little too young for me, don't you think? Naruto pouted, but then chuckled. I didn't know you were into old men. Nina huffed, but she guessed she called for it. It's not that I like old men, but you were just 8 when we first met, and I was like 80. I mean, I admit you are a fine young man that most women would kill for. But I don't want to give myself to you without knowing what you really feel for me. Is it just the need of pure-blooded Uzumaki offspring you feel? Is it pity? Is it lust? Is it low-die? Love. Her throat went dry in anticipation at the end, but she didn't get her hopes high. Naruto hummed in thought for a while, rubbing her toned belly unconsciously. Nina squirmed around in his grasp as his slightly rough hand slid under her loose shirt and started rubbing her bare belly. A tint of pink appeared on her cheeks. After a while, he had gathered his thought. I have to admit, when the first time I met you, I was impressed with your strength. Nothing more. Then, as we traveled together, you were so cold and distant. I didn't really like you much, but thought you were okay. To me, at first, you seemed just like an ideal Haiga. Kinda stuck up. Nina's lips trembled as her eyes watered up. Just when she was finally starting to develop feelings for someone after years, and years of being closed up. This is what she gets. What did she do to deserve this rejection?
Naruto held her tighter to himself and sighed as he felt her stiffen, almost ready to fight back against his touch.
Relax, Nina-chan. Let me finish. That was before I came back, he whispered soothingly into her ear.
She would have melted right there if she wasn't so angry right now. Seeing danger in delaying his explanation, Naruto continued. After I returned though, my feelings for you started to change. When I saw you training Natsumi to the best of your ability, I knew I was wrong with comparing you to a Hyuga. They wouldn't be so helpful, or fuss over a girl getting hurt after the training. But the more I saw you, the more I noticed how much you cared about us. I know it's because you don't have anyone else you can relate to, but that doesn't change the fact that you care so much about my family, and through the years. You don't realize this, Nina-chan, but you are by now an irremovable part of our family. We all care about you a lot as well. To Ka-chan you are like a best friend, and to my sisters you are an Oni-chan they can look up to. And for me, well.
Let's not forget that if it weren't for you, We would never have had the chance to bring Natsu-chan back. We all owe you. You're like a guardian protector of our family. We all love you, and you love us back. And you're probably stronger than Ka-chan." Nina sniffed as she shook her head. She was slightly moved by his honesty to her. "Sorry to burst your bubble, but I don't think so. Your mother is a rare genius. I can't absorb techniques like a sponge, like she can. I'm strong, I'll admit, and I can smack weaklings like Tsunade around without trouble. But you can't compare me to your mother, or any other SS rank shinobi, like Madara." "Yes, I know your mother only has S rank, but she is as strong as Yondaime was. But since she mostly works undercover and hides her true skills, not many know. Besides, Kushi-chan is still developing, and once she realizes her true potential, I won't be able to hold my own against her for long." Instead of looking envious at her junior's progress, she smiled. "Naruto," chuckled lightly as he rested his chin on her shoulder. "Alright, geez, don't worry though, you're still pretty damn strong. And I respect you for that too. I think you are a beautiful girl, Nina, and deserve someone to love you. I can fill in that role if you allow me to, of course." He smiled coyly at the end. Nina felt shivers run through her as his hand brushed against the lower part of her breasts. She sighed in happiness as she let his hands roam on her body, sparks flying in and out of her vision at his touch. This was the first time she had let a man touch her outside of a spar, in which most men seem to lose the ability to reproduce. And it felt good. Feeling him hesitate a bit, she put her soft hands over his and guided them to where they wanted to go. She moaned throatily as she felt him squeeze her breast with left hand. His right hand slid down lower and lower. He froze as he heard Hitomi's voice. "You're influencing her decisions, Naruto-kun?" Naruto's eyes narrowed as he growled. "What are you talking about? We had a perfectly normal conversation and she's not protesting." I didn't mean to offend you, please listen."
"You are unconsciously using a demonic technique, lure. Can't you feel your yoki flickering every few seconds? It makes everyone within its range feel attracted towards you."
"I don't want this to mess up your relationship with anyone. Who knows what she might think when you're done." "Oh, I know. What if she thinks you trapped her in a genjutsu and raped her? You remember what she does to rapists, right?" Hitomi reminded him sweetly. Naruto paled as he quickly reined his yoki in, stopping the technique that had unknowingly been influencing Nina, but she never noticed. She still had his hands all over her, and was purring in delight with every little squeeze he gave. Naruto smirked. "See, it wasn't the technique that made her do anything."
Hitomi rolled her eyes. "Yeah, well, it probably only increased her attraction to you for a while, making her more confident in her feelings for you, so I guess it's okay."
She pouted though. Now, there were going to be 4 people who were getting a taste of her mate before her. Nina grinded herself against him as she felt him poke into her from behind.
Naruto smirked at her action, and gave her a long lick from her shoulder to collarbone. The lavender-eyed girl's breath got caught in her throat as fireworks seemed to cloud her vision. She leaned into his touch, surrendering herself to him.
She felt his fingers linger over her abdominal area, teasing her, but never directly touching, much to her frustration.
Naruto inhaled deeply, and decided that he liked the peach scent Nina seemed to radiate. While he loved how Kasumi and Kushina both smelled like strawberries, a little change was always nice. His mind wandered for a moment. It was rather interesting actually. The flowers of the peach fruit were lavender in color, like her eyes, while the fruit itself was red like her hair. Oh, her skin tone matched the inside of the fruit. He chuckled as gave her a love bite on the neck. Nina felt her whole body heat up on response to his advances. The odd excitement that his display of power had made her go through combined with the fear of his rejection and anticipation had all left her in a mess.
Lemon warning. Nina breathed heavily as she felt the sharp pointed claws roam over her body. So this is the demonic mutation he goes through while using Yoki. Feels wild. Not bad, actually. I hope he's careful with those though. They can easily slice through me.
She didn't protest as she felt him using his claws to tear her shirt apart, trailing kisses on her smooth, pale back. Her heart thumped at each kiss. She felt like a 16-year-old virgin on her first date. Well, I am a virgin. And I've never had any conversation like this with a boy before, so this can count as a date, I think. But I'm definitely not 16.
She felt slightly embarrassed as she felt his claw go through the strap of her bra, making it fall to the ground. Having never been completely naked in front of a man, she felt embarrassed and vulnerable. Her mind blanked for a moment as his fingers touched her nipples. They were already hard the moment he had started playing with her, and what he was doing right now made her lose focus. The blonde gave her medium-sized breasts another squeeze. His hands then unlatched themselves from around her, earning a moan of disappointment from the girl. Before she had the time to blink, the blonde had hoisted her up like a bride and started carrying the redhead to the large table at the center of the room. It still had scrolls all over it, but a carefully guided Shinra Tensei took care of most of them and threw them away. He will deal with them later. It was about damn time this virgin became a woman. A mischievous grin etched on his face as he looked at the girl he was carrying. His look only served to make the lavender-eyed girl more flustered. Laying her gently on the table, he moved in towards her lips.
Nina drew in a sharp breath as his lips neared hers, preparing herself for her first kiss. The smell of peppermint assaulted her mind as she breathed in deeply. He smelled so good. She closed her eyes as his lips touched hers, sending powerful jolts through her body. Moaning into him, she caressed his tongue as it entered her. She enjoyed his fresh taste as she started sucking on his tongue.
Naruto's hands trailed down her back, enjoying the feel of the soft, smooth female skin. They rested on her lower back. Moving them a little down, he caressed her curves as she started squirming once more.
It had been a while since Naruto realized he could change any part of his body into something more demonic by channeling his Yoki through it. Using this ability, he lengthened teeth into fangs as his claws moved up and down the girl's smooth back.
The whole while Nina's sexual arousal grew to new heights. Sweat started covering her heated body, as Naruto finally withdrew from her mouth. Her womanhood ached almost painfully with a need she had never felt before. My God, fangs? As she took gasps of air, breathless from his oral assault, her eyes once again widened as his claws kept scratching the delicate skin of her breasts.
Sucking on her soft skin on his way down, he chuckled as she shuddered and moaned under him. There was also the slightest scent of fear of his fangs piercing her delicate skin.
Where are you going? Come back here, I want to kiss more, Nina muttered with her half-lidded eyes filled with need. Naruto grinned at her. Oh, but where should I kiss you? You never specified the place. Here? He asked before kissing her smooth abdomen. Then he moved lower, ever so slowly, accentuating each kiss with a question.
He paused just above her womanhood. Blowing from his mouth directly over her pussy, he took delight in the increased boldness his partner attained as she used her hands to try and pull him towards her.
She had a small, thin strip of red hair right above her pussy, which seemed neatly maintained. Nina looked into his pleadingly, "Please, take me now?" Before he could respond, the door opened to reveal Kushina, whose jaw dropped at the scene. Okay. Wow, you work fast, Sochi-kun. Mind if I join in? Kushina asked with an impish grin. Naruto mirrored her expression as Nina blushed. She was so embarrassed at getting caught being intimate with a boy. And by the boy's lover too, this was so embarrassing. Before she could firmly deny Kushina and run away to hide her embarrassment, Naruto beat her to the punch. That would be great, Ka-chan. She has been a virgin for so long that the process might be too painful for her. It would be great if you could help me with her and make it easier. Kushina giggled lightly at him. Sure, I'm certain your reasons are purely selfless." Naruto just grinned at her. Seeing Nina about to protest, he quickly latched his mouth onto hers, shoving his tongue down her throat. The short-haired girl seemed to flinch slightly when her tongue touched his fangs, but submitted soon enough. "I'm enjoying him having power over me. It's so strange. I've always tried to be stronger and stronger, but I like these dangerous claws roaming my body, and these fangs threatening my lips. Kushina didn't bother undressing. She had stopped wearing underwear when inside the compound, along with Kasumi, as Naruto liked to take them whenever he wanted. In the kitchen, on the dinner table, and practically anywhere he felt like he could, any time of the day. Just yesterday, he had taken them both 5 times during the day, and then the whole night together. They both enjoyed the feeling of being filled with his essence, and how it sometimes trickled down their thighs. Kasumi was even considering making seals that would take all her clothes in a pocket dimension, with just a faint thought from Naruto, letting him fuck her more thoroughly and conveniently whenever he wanted. Kushina had politely requested to get a copy for herself when she was done making it. Natsumi and Nina were slowly getting used to their activities, though they still got embarrassed whenever they walked in on them. Though Nina would be joining them after today. Kushina leaned in towards Nina and trailed her tongue from the base of her stomach to the valley in between her breasts, leaving a trail of saliva behind. Naruto, seeing his mother begin, moved upwards and captured Nina's nipple, just as Kushina licked the other one. Nina's back arched in delight as the two Uzumaki continued kissing and licking all over her body, covering her in their saliva. Kushina slipped in a finger in Nina's now extremely wet womanhood, wincing slightly at the tightness. Naruto will have to pay extra attention to her. Nina's eyes almost rolled back as she felt Kushina's slim finger slide inside her. She pushed back against it, enjoying the feeling of someone else pleasuring her. She had masturbated a few times, but none felt this good. Someone else doing it for you is such an amazing feeling.
The smell of peppermint and strawberries overwhelmed her as both Kushina and Naruto started nibbling on her neck. Kushina herself enjoyed licking her slightly sweating peach-flavored body.
After continuing this for 10 more minutes, Nina was breathing heavily as she thrashed on the now not-so-cold table in pleasure. Her mind temporarily stopped processing anything as she felt Kushina hover over her so that her pussy was right over Nina's, and kissed her best friend, much to her surprise. Nina unconsciously moaned in Kushina's mouth, even as she noticed Naruto getting in between her legs. Just as her heart started beating faster at the thought of him finally claiming her as his own, a loud moan from the redhead over her told her otherwise. Looking back over her shoulder, Kushina gave her son a sexy smile as she lay down on Nina, pressing their breasts together and nibbling on her neck. Nina activated her Byakugan in an attempt to see what was going on, and was not disappointed. Naruto had slowly started entering Kushina, not bothering to give her much foreplay as she was already quite wet. Nina watched as her clan sister kept shivering at the sensation of her son stretching her to her limits. Ever so slowly, his tip bumped against her womb, 2 inches still sticking out. Kushina pressed back upon him, leaking more juices than Nina thought possible. Naruto groaned as a thick glob of precum was released, eliciting a moan from Kushina and further increasing the wetness between her legs.
Nina couldn't believe that Kushina, who Naruto had been fucking every chance he got, still couldn't completely contain him without being stretched beyond natural. It made her nervous.
Then Naruto withdrew all the way out and pushed back in, enjoying the warm, tight, velvety wet embrace of his lover along the way. As he continued to thrust in and out of her, he held her tightly at the waist. With every thrust, Nina felt his balls slap against her pussy, some of the lover's combined juices drip on her own womanhood, and Kushina's breasts rub against hers uncontrollably. Sounds of flesh slapping and rubbing against flesh filled the air as Nina felt more and more desperate with each passing moment. As Kushina looked up, another thrust made her lips crash into Nina's. After recovering from the moment of shock, they both passionately engaged with renewed vigor. Nina's hands wrapped around Kushina's body as she pulled the girl more tightly together. As she did so, she noticed she could feel Naruto's cock moving in and out of Kushina as it was so thick and stretched her enough to be felt through their touching bellies. Whoa, such a weird feeling. But I kinda like this too. 20 minutes of continuous pumping later, Nina felt Kushina's thrusting back became more urgent, and Naruto's thrusts came faster and shorter. With a grunt, Naruto buried himself hilt deep in the crimson-haired girl and held her tightly as he released his seed in her. Kushina's eyes rolled back as her pussy started spasming, and her body seemed to thrash. It was clear the lovers were sharing a simultaneous orgasm. Nina's eyes closed in delight as she felt their combined juices flow freely and fall on her pussy and trail down towards her ass, some sticking on her thighs, and some flowing towards her belly. Kushina's ecstasy reached its peak as she finally felt the now familiar feeling of having her womb completely filled with her son's boiling hot seed. Oh, how she loved the feeling of being completely filled with his thick, hot cum. She was sure that both herself and her daughter would have been pregnant 10 times over, if not for the double anti-pregnancy seals they had placed on themselves. One over each ovary. They could have used the jutsu instead, but doing it every time before Naruto filled them was damn annoying. This was more permanent. Nina felt Kushina go limp, and her tongue that had been thrashing in her mouth was retracted. She gently withdrew as she let the red head rest on top of her. All thought left her as she felt Naruto's slick but rigid member rub against her entrance. Thankfully, Naruto used the anti-pregnancy jutsu, seeing as she wasn't really thinking clearly. Her breath hitched as she felt him slide an inch inside her before withdrawing again. "Please," she begged. Naruto gave her a small smile before slapping Kushina's ass, causing said redhead to groan. "Ka-chan. Would you be a dear and comfort Nina-chan through her first time?" Kushina groggily pushed herself up a bit to look into Nina's eyes, before looking back at Naruto and giving him a tired smile and nod. As Naruto entered her again, Kushina kissed Nina deeply, capturing her scream before it could escape her throat. All the while, Naruto rubbed her legs that had slightly gone numb from pain. Tears trickled down from her lavender eyes and down her pale cheeks as she lost her virginity. Naruto closed his eyes at the intense warmth and tightness he felt inside Nina. While she was initially tighter than both Kushina and Kasumi, she stretched more easily, so it wasn't painful for him, just pleasurable. Her insides were more flexible as well. With Kushina, he often had to breach the wall of her womb to enter her completely. Kasumi was his perfect fit, seemingly custom-made for him. But Nina had accommodated him completely without him having to breach her second barrier. Still, they were all extremely good. Just different from each other. Unique in their own way. Kushina, finally recovering her strength, got off from her and made her sit. Nina wrapped her legs around Naruto's back as he was still impaling her completely, and wrapped her arms around his neck.
Naruto licked her slightly salty tears away, while Kushina started massaging her shoulders. The pleasant feeling slowly overwhelmed her pain and she found herself pushing against Naruto soon enough. Before she knew it, they had a good rhythm going, with Naruto's tip bumping against her womb with each thrust, and his balls slapping against her ass as he bottomed out inside her.
Kushina and Naruto's eyes met for a brief moment, and they both shared a lover's kiss before Kushina stood up on the table. As Nina looked up, she saw the crimson-haired beauty grinning down at her. As her eyes trailed down, she noticed thick globs of Naruto's seed leaking out of her and trailing down her thighs. Before realized what she was doing, the older Uzumaki was already licking Kushina's inner thighs, slowly making her way towards her pussy. Kushina's pleasant shudders and moans only seemed to encourage both Nina and Naruto. As his pounding increased in intensity and strength, Nina felt like she was losing the feeling in her legs, but an explosion deep within was just waiting to happen. Ever so slowly, she kept lapping up Naruto's hot, spicy cream from Kushina's beautiful thighs, swallowing whenever her mouth got full and savoring his taste. Eventually, she reached her destination, and as she inserted her tongue, she was rewarded with a shuddering moan and a thick glob of Naruto's cum.
Just how much did he give her? I hope he gives me this much too.
Kushina felt her knees go weak. I can't stand anymore. Please, let me lay down. Naruto nodded as he picked Nina up, catching her by surprise. As he continued to fuck her, he looked at his mother. Lay down on your back where she was, with your face towards us. Kushina did as she was told, and Naruto gently placed Nina on top of her such that their bond was directly in front of the redhead's face. Moreover, Nina's head was now comfortably in between Kushina's legs, where she delightfully continued to feast on Naruto's cum, while she was being pounded from behind by Naruto.
Kushina squirmed under them as her sensitive womanhood was stimulated by Nina's tongue as she continued licking Naruto's balls and dick, occasionally lapping up the fresh peach-flavored juices of the lovers above her.
Within 10 more minutes, Naruto found himself unable to hold himself any longer against Nina's milking and Kushina's tongue. With one last final thrust, he buried himself hilt deep and started blasting his boiling hot seed inside Nina's virgin womb. Nina's eyes blanked as fireworks seemed to explode inside her. She wanted to scream in ecstasy as her womb seemed to literally catch fire from Naruto's semi-demonic seed. But the sight of Naruto filling up her best friend proved too much for Kushina as she closed her thighs, trapping Nina within them and letting her orgasm take over. Thankfully, Nina lapped up all her sweet juices and the spicy cum that came with it. With his desire temporarily sated, Naruto slowly withdrew from Nina's now completely full womb, still spurting. He was caught skillfully by Kushina's luscious lips as she sucked on him and drank all he could give her for the next 3 minutes. She smiled lovingly at him one final time before dozing off for a while, feeling satisfied now that both her stomach and womb were completely filled to the point of overflowing with her lover's sperm. Naruto leaned down as he gave them both kisses on their foreheads and left them to recover for a while. Lemon end. After his session with Kushina and Nina, Naruto had visibly relaxed and started thinking rationally over the issue that the forbidden Uchiha scroll contained. He sighed as troubled thoughts raced through his head.
Kuchio's no jutsu. Arades no ryu. Summoning technique. Arades of the dragons.
In a small puff of smoke, the golden-clad blonde beauty, that was the queen of the dragon clan, appeared with a mischievous glint in her eyes. Hello again, Naruto-kun. I was thinking you had 4 go. Her melodic voice died in her throat as her eyes fell upon the cum-covered and thoroughly fucked forms of Kushina and Nina on the library table. I can see you've been busy, she added with a blush covering her face. Naruto chuckled nervously. Yeah, well, I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. The dragoness shook her head with a small smile. No, that's okay. A summoner is usually very close to his summons, so you shouldn't feel the need to hide anything from me. In fact, I'm glad you feel comfortable enough to summon me in this situation. She winked. I can see you have exhausted your rather beautiful lovers, so you wanted me to help, huh? Naruto choked on the air he was breathing. What? I never even thought about it. He quickly tried to explain himself to the Dragon Queen, not wanting to offend her by thinking he wanted her to be his sex slave or something. Arades frowned. Why? Am I not attractive enough for you? Before he could respond, she started speaking again. So what exactly did you need me here for, Master? She giggled. I can't think of much else with you standing there naked and summoning me like this. So sue me if I came upon the most logical conclusion. That was when Naruto noticed with a groan. He had forgotten to dress up. Please forgive me, but there is a rather urgent personal request I need to make. She giggled again playfully. I can see it's urgent, and it's certainly personal. Naruto, groaned again. She frowned when he remained serious. Eridace, I need you to arrange a summoning contract for my sister. With your influence over the summoning realm, I'm hoping you will be able to do that. Eridace's expression completely changed as her face lost all playfulness. Do you know what you're asking for, summoner? Naruto couldn't help but flinch at her cold tone. Is it not possible?
She looked at him without blinking for a while before speaking. No, I can try, and probably succeed. But you will owe the Dragon Clan an irreversible and unrestricted favor.
Naruto looked into her eyes as he nodded. I accept, as long as the favor brings no harm towards me or my family. Eridace's features softened as she gave him a sad smile. Don't think so little of me, Naruto-kun. We care for you. You were but a little kid since I helped you grow up. Do you think I will ask for anything that will hurt you or your family? Don't worry, though. I will try to get a contract for your sister. Goodbye until then. With a small poof, she was gone, not giving him the chance to apologize for his rudeness. Damn, he muttered. It's not your fault, Naru-kun. You were just looking out for your family. Hitomi tried to comfort him. Naruto smiled at her. I know, Kin-chan, but I hope I didn't offend her. I will make up to her later. His thoughts then drifted back to the reason he had snapped at Nina. That cursed scroll. The black scroll was from the forbidden section of the Shuha library, and was disguised as empty with a weak but self-sustaining yoki-based genjutsu.
It was only through the unconscious use of the demonic technique and the brief flares of Naruto's yoki that the genjutsu had been broken, and Nina took notice of the scroll. The genjutsu was so weak that even with dojutsu he had to concentrate really hard to notice the minuscule amount of yoki in it, and sensing it was simply out of the question.
It was probably an extremely skilled minor demon who had cast the genjutsu. But more importantly than that, the scroll contained a log of deals the Uchiha had been making with fallen angels and devils. From what Hitomi had told him, the gods like Shinigami and Tsukuyomi all had several dozen angels and demons, serving them each. The demons that disobeyed their master and went rogue were called devils, while the angels who did the same were called fallen angels. More often than not, the gods didn't consider it worth their time to seek their destruction, and let them go. But if they ever stumbled across those rogues, their life was forfeit. That was why all fallen angels and demons settled down together in a separate dimension, known as Hell. This dimension was created and maintained by the fallen angels of the goddess of time and space, Kamui. In return, they were treated as nobility in Hell. As opposed to common belief, the demons were actually created by each and every god to act as their enforcers and soldiers if needed during a conflict, while the angels were the god's servants, messengers, and objects of sexual gratification.
Usually when an angel or demon broke their connection with their deity, they became far less powerful by losing the main source of their powers, but some were still formidable. The Biju were an exception. Kyuubi, for example, far surpassed any demon in strength and cunning, and could be considered a demigod, before her sealing anyway. Not all demons were that powerful, or even close.
The strongest could perhaps equal Shukaku in terms of raw power, but even that was stretching it. However, over time, due to the ignorance of various deities, the Hell now housed so many powerful fallen angels and demons that even the gods feared going there. Even they would fall against the combined force of thousands of those.
As a result, the fallen angels and devils have been growing bolder as of late. The deals with Uchiha described that 1,000 souls had been sacrificed for each weapon. They had 3 of them. But it didn't mention where they were.
The weapons were of such strength that they could slay gods, which was only fair since they did used to belong to gods.
The sword of Tatsuka, Yata mirror and Magatama jewel necklace, those 3 items. At the cost of 3,000 souls, which the Uchiha got from who knows where.
The sword of Tatsuka was the perfect defense, Yata mirror was the perfect defense, and the Magatama jewel gave the user such vitality and benevolence that even a human could then wield such godly weapons indefinitely. He shuddered to think of the possibility of Madara possessing these items. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt true hopelessness seep into his very being. How could he counter something that made gods tremble in fear? And since the Uchiha were on good terms with the fallen angels and devils, he felt truly fucked. Chapter end. Enjoy the chapter.
Chapter 21, Exodus.
After Eridace had departed, Naruto remembered that much to his discontent, he had completely forgotten marking Nina in his throes of pleasure. Of course, when she woke up, she eventually noticed the lack of the Uzumaki Jinsei Kizuna fine on her body, and assumed the worst. The poor girl had come close to breaking down. She thought that her and Naruto's love was perhaps just a delusion. But, thankfully, his mother came to Naruto's rescue, and reminded the girl that they need to ingest each other's blood while mating for the bond to form. Even after the bond had formed, Nina had taken a liking to using her lips and teeth on him. The redhead nibbled on him at every opportunity she got. Thankfully, she knew there were some places on the male body she must never bite. She still used her lips, though. This was of course followed by a combined effort of all 3 redheads to literally fuck Naruto to submission. Sadly, the trio of girls forgot they were dealing with a half-demon. By the end of it all, the 3 girls were blissfully asleep on his bed, in a tangled, sweaty mess, covered and filled with the warmth of someone they loved. The next day, Naruto woke up to the wonderful feeling of soft female hands massaging his shoulders. As he blinked his eyes open, he noted that there was at least 1 naked girl on top of him, and 2 more were snuggling on his either side. His head, meanwhile, was resting on something warm and soft. "I thought you'd be tired after last night. They were really quite rough on you, weren't they, Naruto-kun?" Looking up, he found his blonde sister giggling. Naruto returned her grin as he tilted his head, letting her continue the massage. "Why would you say that, Natsumi-ni?" Even as he inquired about it, he couldn't help but wonder how the fuck she learned how to give massages that good. If she asked him now, he would make her his only wife. Though that wouldn't mean much, as in that case she would become his only widow. Kasumi, Hitomi, Kushina and Nina will cut his balls off if he left them. He didn't want to know if his demonic healing combined with Kanzen Tentai could help him regenerate that. Oh wait, of course. She's a medic, so it's only natural she knows everything about the body's pleasure zones. This is really nice. He snickered as a little bit of drool almost escaped his mouth. He was so going to enjoy it when she's finally ready for him. A sweet voice interrupted his daydream. "Nowadays, you guys never use silencing barrier seals or anything. So, it's not that hard to miss." She giggled on noticing his dreamy look. "You aren't thinking any naughty thoughts about your Wani-chan, are you?"
He sputtered, but then shrugged as he decided to answer her honestly. "I'm not as perverted as you may think, but believe it or not, I find your massage very sexually stimulating."
He felt her stop, before she grumbled something about how it was supposed to be relaxing. "Besides, how do you know it's not just a natural reaction to these 3? He pointedly looked at the 3 sleeping girls' forms. Natsumi almost considered using her deadliest attack on him, which she had kept a secret till now. She barely managed to refrain from doing so. "You did not just say that you're responding more to them while you're resting on my lap and enjoying my massage?" Naruto paled as he heard her question, which she asked in a way too sweet tone. His throat went dry in fear as he squeaked. Well, they are naked." For a moment, Natsumi remained silent before her shoulders sagged in defeat. "You got a point there. But you do feel something from me, right? Not wanting to die, Naruto nodded swiftly. Of course. It was true anyway. Good, Natsumi chirped.
With a smile, Naruto took hold of her hands and pulled her forward. Where did you sleep though, Natsu-chan? I'm sorry I took all your cuddle buddies away.
A sheepish smirk formed on his face. Naruto knew Natsumi didn't like sleeping alone. She had developed a habit of sleeping while being cuddled tightly by Kushina and Kasumi, but that had been changed to Nina when Naruto had claimed them both. With Nina now sleeping with him too, he was a bit concerned if she felt okay with this setting. Natsumi giggled softly at her brother. Don't worry about it. I just came here and cuddled with Kei-chan after all of you were done doing. Besides, I'm coming along better with my bloodline now. I don't know if you noticed, Naru-kun, but I'm physically more than 15 now. Just a little more to go. Then problem solved. I can then sleep with you all. She winked playfully at him. Naruto grinned at her as he nodded. That's great, Natsume-chan. They were silent for a while as she kept massaging his shoulders, unconsciously getting a bit excited. Hey, Naruto. Natsumi bit her lip as she took in a deep breath. Her heart was clenching almost painfully as he smiled at her. I love you.
Naruto was stunned for a moment before he grinned. I know, I love you too.
Natsumi shook her head somewhat shamefully, causing Naruto to frown. What's bothering you, Natsume? She didn't meet his eyes and looked away. I just wanted you to know that I love you. I feel so bad not letting you take me while everyone else has.
Naruto chuckled. Peer pressure.
Natsumi blushed. A mischievous glint entered his eyes as he smiled coyly. Don't worry about it, Natsu-chan. I don't love you all just for your bodies, but for what you mean to me. Though admittedly, all of you being hot babes is a welcome bonus. Me too? Obviously. You are my sister after all, he exclaimed smugly. The golden-haired girl giggled. You're just saying that. I know I don't look as good as them. I don't even have our clan's trademark red hair. Naruto's face turned serious as he realized her insecurities were real and right there. With trained ease, he got out of the bed, pulling Natsumi away from the three sleeping girls before picking her up by her collar and slamming her into the wall. The girl winced a bit as she looked at her younger brother questioningly, wondering why he was doing this. Did she do something to anger him? He pushed himself closer against her, stopping just as their lips were merely an inch apart.
Natsumi's mouth parted a bit as she felt his hot breath brush against her. The blonde girl closed her eyes without thinking. As she felt her brother's hands grasp the back of her head and his fingers interlock with her golden hair, she savored the feeling of belonging to him and the warmth that seemed to flow through her from his mere touch.
Do you think any of us care what your hair color is? Do you hate me because I don't have red hair like Mom, but blonde like that bastard? The girl's eyes widened as she realized what her words could have meant. No. I would never. Then why? Why would we think you're any less beautiful because of your hair? You look like an angel to me, Natsumi. Natsumi, you are as beautiful as any of them. Don't you ever dare feel like you don't belong with us again. Even. As she felt his strong hand holding her up firmly by her top, his eyes revealed the pain he felt for her. She could see how much he wanted her to know it didn't matter what she looked like. To him, she will always be beautiful. Tears threatened to flow from her eyes as she slowly nodded. I'm so sorry. His grip tightened on her hair, making her heart throb faster. Almost agonizingly slowly, she felt his lips brush against hers. Sparks flew through her vision as jolts seemed to strike her body, electrifying her and multiplying her excitement. Her arms involuntarily wrapped around his neck, and legs around his waist, in an attempt to pull him closer, leisurely noticing his hardness pressing against her toned belly. For a moment, she felt truly happy. By the time the three redheads on the fairly large bed had woken up, The two blondes were heavily making out and gasping for breath. Half of Natsumi's clothes were already discarded. Kasumi idly noted that her twin hadn't bothered dressing up at all. Even as the three redheads watched the couple make out, none of them interrupted. Nina was still feeling the after effects of the bond formation. While Kasumi and Kushina had quickly recovered due to their skill in regeneration, Nina was highly proficient with only the age control of Kanzen Tentai. As such, she still felt an unnatural rush of energy flowing through her ever since the bond had formed. Kasumi turned her head around as she felt someone breathe down on her neck, only to come face to face with Kushina. "Ka-chan?" Instead of responding to her daughter, Kushina gently kissed her cheek before moving away. She coughed lightly to gain every occupant's attention. Natsumi blushed as she finally noticed she was making out with her brother in front of his lovers. "I'm sorry, I got carried away." The redheads all grinned at her as they settled down on the bed comfortably.
"It's okay," Kushina smiled at her daughter.
Kasumi winked while Nina just smirked. "Huh? We don't mind as long as it's you."
The girl only blushed more. She was confused if she should remove the rest of her clothes as well or put them back on. She felt a bit awkward being the only one wearing clothes. In the end, she decided to stay half naked.
"Sochi-kun, do you feel anything different?" Kushina's voice carried a tone of authority, prompting her son to carefully start observing. Naruto's face changed from playful to serious as he concentrated. He noted with satisfaction that his bloodline had once again improved, and he felt more power flowing through him than usual. He then started checking the state of all the females around him. Glancing at them, he noticed that Kasumi's and Kushina's life marks changed, along with probably his own, though he couldn't see it. They now had intricate designs around the spiral, but the color remained crimson for the entire seal. With Nina, he noted that the same seal had indeed formed on her neck, and he could feel his connection to her now. But as he looked into Nina's eyes, Naruto had to bite back a gasp. He frowned as he thought about it. They changed. That wasn't what I was expecting. "Do you know of any second level the Byakugan has, Kin-chan?"
Hitomi remained silent for a while as she tried to remember anything such as an advanced Byakugan, but in the end she came up with a big blank. "Not that I know of, sorry."
Naruto gave her an absent-minded nod, already trying to come up with possible theories. While her eyes were at first lavender in color, which wasn't so odd amongst Haiga even though pupil less white is more common, now they were violet and closely resembled a standard pair of ocean blue Uzumaki eyes.
Naruto's eyes narrowed in thought. Clearly, something had changed in Nina's Byakugan when their life bond formed, assuming the Byakugan was still there. It won't be so unexpected if the seal had simply removed her other bloodline.
He wondered if the change might be purely in appearance. Even then, he thought it was nice. He loved her new eyes more. They were prettier. "Nina-chan, please activate your Dojutsu." Although curious as to why he would ask her to do so, the redhead obeyed without hesitation. "Byakugan. Well."
Others in the room kept on looking expectantly at her to activate the Dojutsu, but nothing seemed to change.
Nina tilted her head in confusion, wondering what else they wanted. She pouted. "What? I know they don't look very pretty when the veins bulge, but don't you start having second guesses now."
Naruto grinned as he shook his head. "I hate to lie to those I love, so I'll be honest with you. The veins that appeared when you activate your Dojutsu aren't exactly attractive. But the overall attractiveness of your pretty face easily overwhelms that."
Slight tint of pink appeared on Nina's cheeks at her lover's compliment. Naruto's face turned more serious then. "But why didn't you do as I said?" Confusion was written all across Nina's face, as Naruto sighed and motioned for his sisters and mother. "Let's give her a full body exam. Who knows what other side effects having the Byakugan had on her."
The girls grinned as they closed in on Nina like predators closing in on prey. The poor girl felt a desperate need to caden them away.
Unknown location. The room was sterile and empty. No scent, no noticeable furniture, no carpets. It had nothing except a simple mat upon which a male figure with long dark brown hair sat in a meditative position. His eyebrows were clipped short, which used to be a sign of nobility in ancient times. His long dark brown hair and his eyes seemed to be turned up at the corners with markings under them. A silvery white haze surrounded him, covering him with an aura of power as he meditated. The entire room was made up of giant black rectangular stone slabs. A pair of heavy metallic doors slammed open as a single silhouette was pushed through it. The person righted herself before standing tall, revealing feminine curves and facial features. The graceful figure seemingly glided through the surface of the room as she moved towards the meditating man. She wore an elaborate kimono and a tiara in her red hair, which was arranged in two identical, neatly maintained buns. A diamond mark could be seen on her forehead, along with what appeared to be seal tags in her hair decals. Her pale blue eyes shone with fury as she moved towards the meditating figure. Without giving any sign of acknowledging her presence, the man opened his eyes to reveal a spiral pattern. Dojutsu. Kneel! Without meaning to, and with great reluctance, the girl collapsed on her knees under his pressure. The man chuckled. Still furious at me for getting your family killed, Mito-chan. The woman gritted her teeth but chose to remain silent, though her eyes shone with burning hate. He gave another amused chuckle as he looked down at her. Well, don't blame me. Are you still the same Mito who I love? Who used to do everything Hirane-chan told her to? You have been very rebellious these last few years. Mito Uzumaki's eyes watered a bit as her fury returned tenfold. You love. Stop lying, you bastard! You said you loved them too, but you killed them all, every last one of them. The man merely smiled as if remembering a happy memory. He briefly considered telling her that some of them survived, but it would be more fun to see her hopes getting crushed if he introduced them right before killing them in front of her eyes. Ah yes, it was fun doing that too. They were worthy opponents. Too bad the other three villages attacking them had their forces distracted, or they would have been more of a challenge. Mito gritted her teeth at the open insult to her clan. The man was calling them weak. She grinned at him then, and spoke with a slight hint of pride in her voice. Is that so? If they weren't that much of a challenge to your infinite power, why did you wait till the Kumo Kiriiwa alliance attacked? And then you used them as distraction to backstab your own family when they least expected it. That's what a coward would have done, but I'm not surprised that you're one. The man's eyes hardened as his right hand formed a half-ram seal. Uzumaki, Finjutsu. Kuroshimi Kutsu. Uzumaki sealing technique. Agonizing torment.
An orange spiral seal appeared on Mito's neck before it began to glow red. Within moments Mito was on the floor screaming in anguish and pain as she gasped for air and clawed at her own neck.
The man's face twisted into a gleeful grin as he watched the girl's body thrash in unfathomable agony. He was obviously proud of what he was doing. After 10 minutes, the pain finally stopped. Mito stood up shakily, every nerve of her body protesting against her actions. She glared at the man with as much hate as she could muster. But deep within those eyes, there was also the faintest hint of hope. Hope that he would change back to the kind, gentle, caring person he used to be. Hope that all of this was just a nightmare that will be gone when she wakes up. The same hope that he used every passing day to his advantage. The girl shook her head as she tried to find the faintest hint of her brother in the creature in front of her. They taught you everything. They gave you the love of family, and you used to be what you were because of them. Why did you kill everyone I ever cared for?
The man gave a snort as he shook his head in amusement. Such a naive little girl you are. That was but a small price I had to pay for achieving the peace my ancestor dreamed about, that you dreamed about.
Mito's fists clenched as tears spilled down her face. Paying her no heed, the man declared the words that so haunted her. The Uzumaki clan was too powerful to be left alive. So I made sure they all perish. Tense silence followed. After a while, Mito's words came out as mere whispers, but he had no trouble hearing them. That's it. They were too powerful. They loved you, me. They were my family. You killed your own parents, my parents. Wani-chan, Kaya-sama, Ji-sama, and the entire village while they were struggling against the forces of the enemy alliance. And they were safe till you used their trust in you to deactivate the barrier from the inside. You traitorous piece of filth! The man's chuckles turned into maniacal laughter as she continued glaring at him hatefully. Remind me again, who was it that really killed Hashirama? Wasn't he your husband? He smirked as he saw her flinch. Didn't you betray your clan's trust too? Sure, Hashi-kun was a bit rough on you, but you were supposed to be his loving wife, not his killer. Traitor. Father expected better from you. Wouldn't he have been ashamed if he knew what you did? Tears spilled down her cheeks as the man continued his rant, uncaring of her emotional turmoil. You were the one that gave one final push to Madara and Hashirama's rivalry to turn it into a bloodbath, using your charms to entice the poor Uchiha so badly that he would fight the village leader he knew to be more powerful than him. What a dirty slut you are. Ka-chan would have committed seppuku just to escape your presence. Without as much as a twitch of his hand, she was thrown back so hard that the stone wall cracked as her body crashed against it. As she stood up coughing blood, she heard the bone-chilling laughter that she had come to hate so much in the last few decades. The crash against the wall didn't hurt as much as his words. She had trusted her brother enough to do as he said. She had seduced Madara on his request. It didn't take much effort as the Uchiha was already falling for her. Being something that belonged to his rival, she already had the appeal he needed to take. Add her beauty and known prowess as one of the strongest kunoichi to be born, and Madara was done for. She had even finished off her own husband after he was returning from his fight with Madara. Hashirama had loved her with all his heart, even if he had those mood shifts when he tended to be violent. It had still killed a part of her to murder her own husband, but she convinced herself that her brother needed her to do this. You told me Hashirama was going to betray Uzushi and attack us. I should have known it was a lie. She should have known better. Her brother was always odd. He had dark, spiky hair even when both her parents had straight red Uzumaki hair. That alone should have made her consider the fact that maybe he wasn't as trustworthy as every other Uzumaki. I still don't know if he's even an Uzumaki. Ka-chan never told me. She always said he was my An Edi-chan, and that was that. You're still as beautiful as ever. No wonder Madara fought over you with Hashirama. But you failed me, Mito-chan. Madara is still alive. Not for long, though. I'll take care of him myself. The man nodded to himself before narrowing his eyes at the fallen woman in front of him. Don't forget that the only reason I didn't end your pitiful existence is because I need you to further my plans. Don't think you will get away with anything just because I need you, though. With a cruel glint in his eyes, his right hand formed into a half-ram seal once more. Uzumaki Finjutsu, Seimehiru, Uzumaki sealing technique. Life leeching? The spiral symbol on Mito's neck glowed an angry red before she fell to the floor, screaming in unfathomable agony. As she screamed, the man stood up from his place and kneeled down in front of her. He stroked her smooth, tear-stained cheek almost lovingly, before giving her a jaw-shattering slap. Mito coughed bright red blood as her bloodline regeneration mended her bones and tissues back together. The man smiled as Mito went through the torture his seal induced on her. Does it feel good, Mito-chan? Your bloodline will keep providing me with your vitality and longevity through that seal. And you should be proud to know that in this way you will be helping the coming of world peace. It's only thanks to that seal that I live on as a young man." Mito couldn't even hear his words as she continued writhing on the floor in pain. Ignorant of her misery, the man continued. "It's got to hurt when your life force is being sucked out like that. But you are a strong girl who can do it for her, Onagi-chan, right?" The seal that Rikudo Senin designed to share Kanzen Tentai bloodline was bloody genius. Too bad I couldn't completely copy or recreate it. Mine has a little painful side effect as I'm not as good in Jutsu. And we didn't make it in the conventional way because having sex with you is just too disgusting for me. Shh. He ruefully shook his head as his hands grasped the red-haired girl's delicate neck. He roughly hoisted her up, ignoring her anguished cries. "This could all have been avoided if I loved you. But I needed to break all ties with the living to become what I needed to be. But with this new power in my hands, I will soon bring peace. You know how I plan to do that, don't you? My way guarantees peace." Even through constant pain, Mito's half-lidded eyes looked at him in distaste. "I can't believe I once considered you a part of my family. I hate you." Her eyes finally closed as she slipped into unconsciousness, but her body kept twitching in pain every few moments. "Do whatever you want with her. Keep her on tight leash. Use the seal if she doesn't obey you like she should. Actually, use the seal every few hours in any case, just to make sure she knows who's in charge." A woman with short, dark brown hair and bright brown eyes stepped out of the shadows. She had 2 purple rectangular markings on each side of her face and was wearing a long-sleeved black top, a high-waist, light purple skirt apron under which she wore shorts. Her dark leg stockings stopped at her thighs. The brown-haired girl smirked as she looked at the fallen redhead. "You know I can handle pets. I am from the Inuzuka clan after all. How far can I go with her?" "You are free to do anything as long as she doesn't die. The Uzumaki girls are gems for people like us. They can regenerate from nearly any non-fatal injury and live long no matter what you do. So much fun." He threw her the redhead thoughtlessly towards the brown-haired girl, as if he was discarding trash. "I still don't understand why you let Minato-sensei's family live. Ara. Nidame Rikudo-sama." The man grinned as a dangerous glint entered his eyes. "Them? The boy amuses me, and I can use his eyes. As for the girls, it's the same reason I keep Mito-chan alive. They are very useful. Be careful with Mito, Rin. Activate the seal at least once every 6 hours to keep her weak." The Inuzuka scoffed at her superior's warning. "I can handle her. I'm not as weak as I used to be when I first met you." The man's eyes narrowed at her. His tone became cold as ice. "I never made a request." Her previous confidence all but forgotten, the girl nodded meekly, not wanting to face his wrath. The man nodded in satisfaction. He would have punished her like Mito, but frankly the redhead was the only one strong enough to survive his hits. Mito-chan is a lot of things, but despite her fragile appearance right now, she can kill you 10 times over without breaking a sweat. If she was in Konoha Kibi, wouldn't have been able to blink before Mito could have sealed it. And your so-called sensei, the strongest ninja you knew, died doing the same thing. Mito would have come out even stronger. Even Hashirama had lost against her in every fight, though it was always only sparring. The only way you stand a chance against her is through the seal. Here, let me show you. Try it." Rin grinned as she formed the hand sign to activate Mito's seal. "Rikudo-kun is so cruel. I love it."
He added all his subordinates' chakra signature to Mito's seal. Anyone can make her go through what he did. To think she is his sister, oh god, he's so hot.
Training area, 44 Forest of Death, Konohagakure. Naruto took a deep breath to inhale the fresh forest air. A smile graced his lips as energy of nature flowed through him. Tozi was really an outstandingly useful technique, and the only downside was he couldn't use his bloodline for other activities while using it. He mentally started making a map of various kinds of trees and herbs in the area, using his enhanced sense of smell that came from being a demonic entity as well as the connection to his surroundings from his technique. It was a few days ago that Natsumi had asked him if he could create any kind of tree he wants with his Mokuton. And if so, why did they have to purchase the expensive supplies from the village when they can literally grow them? That got him thinking. At first he told her he only knew how to make the teak tree, which Hitomi informed him had the strongest wood and was highly resistant to decay, water, and other such natural agents even after it dies, making it ideal for Mokuton Jutsu. But Naruto knew if he could change the type of trees he produces, he could not only make Uzushiogakure more self-sustaining, but improve his combat capabilities at the same time. Different types of wood had different properties depending on the tree it came from, and as such, it will be a great tool in combat. For example, if his opponent was a fire user, he would expect his wood to burn, not go boom in a huge-ass explosion because it was too prone to flames, or maybe not burn at all.
Not to mention the surprise factor. If the enemy saw one of his tree branches snapping on application of a certain amount of force, he will be taken by surprise when the next time they are much more stronger or weaker.
Naruto chuckled. No wonder Hashirama Senju was a formidable opponent that even Kaibi acknowledged.
Without a second thought, he created 500 cage bunchen and sent them to study the structure of various trees and herbs in the forest. He himself headed back to the compound after canceling Tozi.
Near Nami no Kuni. The clearing was littered with large puddles of water and stone slabs, from the clashing of Kakashi and Zabuza's techniques. The entire area was in disarray. A pink-haired girl was lying face down next to a tree with blood flowing from her head, while a raven-haired boy was watching the scene in front of him with fear evident on his face. A girl with long black hair was laying on her back in front of the Kiri swordsman, his blade held high before he swung it down. Ame closed her eyes as she accepted what was coming. "I'm sorry, Kasumi-chan. I couldn't help your family live safely and happily. I hope you can find someone else." Just as Zabuza's sword was about to slice through her, an unfamiliar screeching sound filled the air. A growl and bark was all the warning he got before a flash of light slammed into him. Zabuza screamed as a hound made up of lightning hit him from nowhere before he even had the chance to comprehend what was going on. Reiten Kamono Tobo no Jutsu. Lightning Beast running technique? Gah! Kakashi, you bastard. His nerves screamed in agony as they were fried from the lightning chakra forcefully pushed into his system. His entire body went numb, and he stood there, paralyzed due to the current. A sound that resembled 1,000 birds chirping filled the clearing as the two Jinin watched in awe. Their Jonin sensei stood there with a ball of pure lightning in his hand, and fury in his eyes. Chidori! Kakashi dashed towards his opponent. His anger knew no bounds. Not only was one of his students probably dead, but another was close to being killed as well. He would never forgive this man.
Despite having taken 2 soldier pills before attacking, Kakashi could feel his vision blurring. He cursed himself for never noticing when those damn demon brothers had poisoned him. But the dose was incredibly small, rather undetectable, and way too inefficient to kill him. His speed wasn't as good as it used to be, or Zabuza would have been dead with his Chidori through his chest by now. Regardless, that was why he had used his lightning hound first, and made his opponent believe he was out of fight to catch him by surprise.
Zabuza, with great effort, managed to lift his sword up just in time to intercept the Hatake's attack. He grunted in effort as he felt Kakashi's attack hit his sword. Then, to his astonishment and horror, the Chidori went through his sword. Zabuza screamed as the ball of lightning made contact with his skin, burning and electrocuting him. The two Genin and Tazuna were filled with respect and awe towards the man as he showed he deserved the title of an elite Jonin. Meanwhile, a certain Hyoton user was filled with panic when the attack unexpectedly pierced her master's sword. No, he can't die like this. Haku's heart clenched as the person she cared most about, the one who had fed her when she was starving, screamed in pain as his nerves were wrecked with lightning.
Kakashi cursed as he noticed his attack had mostly been absorbed by the sword and the wound was not fatal. He felt like he would collapse any moment now, but he managed to stand. With some effort, he took out his kunai to slice the Kiri swordsman's throat.
Haku sighed in relief as Kakashi's attack died down without delivering a fatal wound like expected. This is my chance. I must protect Zabuza-sama before that person kills him. Before Kakashi could finish Zabuza off, two senbon flew out of nowhere and stuck in Zabuza's neck, putting an abrupt halt to his screaming and making his body go limp.
Kakashi's eyes widened as he realized he had failed to notice the other presence in the area. Shit, in this condition I'm not sure if I can beat even a Chunin-level opponent right now.
But he relaxed a bit as a hunter nin landed in front of him. After a brief exchange of words and checking Zabuza's pulse to make sure he's dead, Kakashi allowed the hunter nin to leave. Not that he had the strength to stop him in his present condition. After the hunter nin had left with a shunshin, Kakashi popped his third and last soldier pill into his mouth. With every last bit of chakra he had, the copy ninja slammed his hand on the ground. Kushiyozen no jutsu!
In a small puff of smoke, his faithful dog companion Pakun appeared. Yo, you look like you just woke up, Kakashi. That or you had sex. It wasn't that girl with cracked skull over there, was it? Oh, I smell the same shampoo on her as the one I use.
Kakashi grunted in pain as he fixed his ninkin with a glare. Pakun, go to Konoha and get help. Fast. Finally succumbing his injuries, poison, exhaustion, and fatigue from soldier pill abuse, Hate Kakashi collapsed. Ami shakily got up from her spot, unable to fully believe what just happened. As her eyes darted to the place where her Jonin sensei's face had been demolished by the monster from Mist, she noticed that there was a puddle of mud where his body would have been. He used a mud clone to escape, then soldier pills to restore some of his energy, and then returned to save us. The last Uchiha slowly got up to his feet and glared at the shaking bridge builder, who couldn't believe he was alive. Lead us to your house, Tazuna. Ami carry Sakura. I will have to carry Kakashi. For once, Ami did as the Uchiha said and hoisted Sakura's unconscious form on her back. Though she hated to admit it, Sasuke was physically stronger and would be best suited to carry. Drag their sensei. Tazuna-san, please take us to your house. They need medical attention, at least first aid before the backup from Konoha arrives. Tazuna finally snapped out of his stupor as he heard the girl's voice and nodded quickly. Follow me. Hokage office, Konoha.
A few hours after Pakun had been dispatched to call for backup by Kakashi, Sarutobi stood in front of an unmasked Anbu that he knew all too well.
He plastered a grandfatherly smile on his face as he addressed her. I'm sending your target out of the village for an emergency mission. Have you noticed any suspicious activity from her lately? The brown-haired girl shook her head without hesitation. No, Hokage-sama. She knew people could see right through her innocent eyes and tell when she was lying. There was no way a cage like Sarutobi wouldn't notice if she was lying. But she was telling the truth. She hadn't noticed any suspicious activity from her target, as she was training with Yakumo in the Kurama compound all this time.
The genjutsu she had cast on the compound to fool the Hokage's viewing orb and her illusionary Anbu team had been able to get past everyone till now. But it was only so long she could keep this up before someone noticed. Sandame nodded in satisfaction. That was good. With the increasing number of problems that had been coming up lately, he didn't need another one. Terminate the target before she returns to Konoha. Strike when she's at her weakest. Your strength is her weakness. Strike first. Strike hard. Leave the genin alive if possible.
Takane's eyes widened in surprise. He actually ordered one of his best Anbu teams to kill Kushina? But... The Sandame strode from behind his desk and came face to face with his Anbu. Gently cupping her cheek with his hand, he answered her in a soothing elderly voice. I know it will be hard for you to take the life of a fellow Konoha ninja, but the will of fire has been extinguished in that woman. I don't want her presence endangering the lives of my people any longer. This hands-off mission is an SS rank secret. If you are caught, you know what will happen.
Takane sucked in a deep breath as her eyes were filled with shock. He was going to declare her a traitor if she was caught. She will be publicly executed and disgraced.
I want your team to engrave root symbols on their masks before you engage. Do I make myself clear? With some hesitation, Takane nodded. She had no choice. Sarutobi smiled as he patted her shoulder. I'm proud of you, Takane-chan. The will of fire burns brightly within you. If you succeed without complications, I will reward you with a promotion to the position of my personal bodyguard. As Takane bowed and left, a grin crept up on Sarutobi's face. If Takane's Ambu team fights at their full capacity, then combined with Takane's nigh unnoticeable and unbreakable Genjutsu Kushina, won't be so hard to take down. Genjutsu was her one true weakness after all. Chuckling, he went back to the one thing he loved most. Paperwork. The poor stack of documents seemed to shiver in disgust as the old man made his way to them. They felt so used and dirty carrying out the will of this manipulative old bastard. They would be happy if they were recycled and made into toilet papers than having to bear this. Even the fate of being tissues used by masturbating teenage boys seemed better, though they would prefer if it was some hot girl. Lately, rumors have been flowing around in the paper world about this super hot blue-haired chick who is really close with papers. How they wished they were with her. Sarutobi jumped back in shock from his chair. He could have sworn he just heard his paperwork sigh dreamily. I'm not getting old. I'm not getting old. Uzumaki. Compound.
Naruto looked at his elder sister with something akin to astonishment in his expression. Are you sure about this, Natsumi-chan?
The golden-haired girl nodded as she handed him a thin file. Yes, Nina-chan's dojutsu changed, but it's still there. Others in the living room listened silently, including Nina. But, I know that the telltale signs of Byakugan activating didn't appear when you told Nina-chan to do it, but I'm just saying what her blood shows me. Naruto raised his hands in defeat as he turned his gaze on Nina. You mean to tell me that when I activated my bloodline nothing changed? Nina asked in surprise. Naruto's jaw dropped slightly at her remark. Why, you didn't notice? Nina shook her head as she blushed in embarrassment. Someone give her a mirror. You just need her to see her reflection, right? Naruto gave his twin a nod as she materialized some water and shaped it in the form of a mirror. It wasn't solid, but as long as no one touched it, it was just as good. Nina couldn't stifle a gasp as she noticed her eyes were no longer lavender, but violet. As she activated her bloodline, everyone paid close attention. The purple iris expanded a bit, but nothing else changed. Nina carefully observed her surroundings for a few minutes before deactivating her Dojutsu once more. It's working fine, and it's draining less chakra than before. I think the vision is now completely 360-degree instead of 359. I can see twice as far as before, up to 20 miles.
Everyone smiled and nodded in approval, but Naruto's grin was wider than all others. You can now use your dojutsu without anyone suspecting anything. Do you realize how useful that can be? A million-watt grin lit up Kushina's face as a devious plan formed in her head. That's great. We should make this public, saying that you activated the Uzumaki bloodline and it wiped off your Byakugan. That will get those Hyuga off our backs. I don't like the way they keep trying to get one of us for our bloodline.
Naruto ran a hand through his hair as he considered his mother's idea. Kachan.
The redhead tilted her head as a questioning gesture. Yes, Sochi-kun. I think you should make our bloodline's ability public. The people are too curious about it and will eventually find out some of our capabilities. We won't be giving out any secrets, just telling them what they already suspect. That should discourage them from looking further into it and satisfy their curiosity. In the long run, it's bound to help preserve our secrets.
Kushina thought about it for a while before she reluctantly agreed. Fine. What do you guys think? Natsumi shrugged along with Mina, while Kasumi smirked. Just tell them our bloodline gives us a slightly better regeneration. They know little about anything else, and our long lives could be mistaken as a direct result of the regeneration. We won't succumb to diseases or wounds.
As the others nodded at the finalization of their plans, the seals of the compound alerted them of an intruder.
Naruto scratched his cheek, slightly annoyed at the interruption. Let's go see who this unwanted guest is. We can continue our discussion later. Without a moment of delay, all 5 of them vanished.
Azuki Yugao was lost in her thoughts about a certain redhead as she made her way over to the Uzumaki compound. Her task was to inform them of Hokage's summons, but that wasn't on her mind right now.
Her long violet-purple hair flowed from side to side as she ran towards her destination at full speed. She hadn't bothered putting on her mask as it wasn't needed where she was going. Her glossy reddish-purple lips curved into a smile as she drifted through the trees. Kushina-sama already knows who wears the cat mask. At the age of 22, she was 8 years younger than Uzumaki Kushina, who was her idol just like she was for countless others. She was a bit jealous that the redhead looked younger than her, but had finally admitted defeat, accepting that the Uzumaki girl was just special.
While Kushina had never taken a genin team, she had taken a certain liking to Yugao when the purple-haired girl foolishly challenged her for a spar. Yugao was almost 10 and Chunin at that time, while Kushina was an Anbu captain. She was off duty at that time for being 2 months pregnant at 18 years of age.
Kushina had smiled warmly at her before kicking her ass into next week. Yugao never smiled cockily again. 19 fractured bones, 4 cracked ribs, a moderately serious concussion, and countless cuts and bruises tend to do that.
As months passed by, their friendship developed and Kushina's pregnancy became obvious, but the redhead refused to tell who the child's father was. Of course, Yugao knew. It was obvious, so she didn't push Kushina for an answer. The Namikaze family was never known for being rich. They were average in both ninja skills as well as financial situation. And their only specialty was their unusual prowess with wind release techniques.
Their numbers had slowly dwindled down till only Namikaze Minato was left. Then suddenly, the Namikaze had enough money to build a mansion, and their survivor was more skilled in Effinjutsu than his own teacher. That screamed Uzumaki.
True, Minato was a prodigy, but Yugao suspected a few things. She suspected that the funds acquired from the Uzumaki ruins were used for building the Namikaze mansion. 90% of the fund had gone to the village while 10% was given to Kushina Uzumaki, as the clan's last living member.
Even that 10% was a huge amount, enough to construct something as big as the Namikaze mansion.
The fact that Kushina and Minato both lived there cemented her belief.
And then after the 4th Hokage had passed away, the compound's ownership was transferred to Kushina Uzumaki, and it became the Uzumaki compound. Most people had grumbled when they found out their beloved Yondaimi's property was given to the foreign slut. But Yugao didn't think the compound was given to Kushina at all. More like they couldn't take it even if they wanted to. Her theory was cemented when almost every ninja above Chunin rank had been called to try and break the barrier of the cursed compound. And failed.
Yugao had been fascinated by the sheer capacity of Fuinjutsu from that day on. She even tried learning it. But of course, like thousands others, she had failed spectacularly. There was a reason not everyone who had some time on their hands was a seal master.
Even geniuses from Nara clan had their heads spinning when it came to understanding Einjutsu. She blushed as her first incident with seals came to her mind. She had created a storage seal for food supplies. In went food, out came pink-laced panties. Of course, they became food after her team members had dared to laugh at her. She shoved them down their throats. They never laughed at her again. Her mind drifted back to present as her smile slowly vanished.
Ever since the QB attack, Kushina had become cold to anyone who wasn't already living with her. Yugao understood. Her friend was betrayed and she was hurt. But still, the Kunoichi hoped that Kushina allowed her a chance to make it up to her somehow. The purple-haired girl was so lost in her thoughts that she never noticed when she breached the perimeter barrier and came within 100 meters of the compound wall. She came to an abrupt halt as she felt an all-too-familiar beautiful red sword covered with intricate runes against her throat, and warm breath brush against the back of her neck. The Fire Fang, Kushina-sama.
What do you want? She was given no time to respond as another sword, black as midnight with red edges, appeared between her eyes, a fraction of an inch away from her skin. A handsome blonde boy she recognized as Kushina's son held the blade, a fierce look in his ocean blue eyes. Yogao's eyes widened as she realized how much chakra he seemed to have. The amount of power that radiated from him was simply unnatural for even a jonin, let alone a genin. Before she could speak, a girl with violet eyes and red hair appeared near her, and with a deceptively gentle touch, her body from neck down went limp.